I'm really excited about this strategy because this strategy truly does change everything. It's just amazing. And the people that find this strategy, honestly, they find it by trial and error. They're not mentored in it. And that's exactly how I found it. I found the strategy, honestly, in Proverbs, but I really didn't understand it until I was mentored in it a little bit later. But it turned out I had been doing this for most of my life. Didn't know it, but this was something. And it's something that really, really does make the impossible possible. It's called shooting for the moon. Now, if you've ever been to a motivational seminar or time management seminar, chances are you have heard the importance of setting goals. And in those seminars, and my friends taught those seminars, including my dear, dear friend Zig Ziglar, who to this day I have more admiration for what he did with his life than I do for most people. And but Zig even said, Zig drove home the importance of setting goals and really fired people up on that importance. And that's where I heard that statistic that the 3% of the people that do have an effective goals program make more than double than the people who don't have an effective goals program. Well, vision mapping is truly an effective goal-setting program, the most effective I've ever seen. And because it forces you into meaningful specifics. That's a term from Zig Ziglar as well. But let me just say that every single person that I have ever studied, over 200, who were super achievers, who achieved the impossible, Edison, Ford, J.P. Morgan, Mellon, Andrew Carnegie, to name a few, Bill Gates, they all did just the opposite of setting achievable, reachable goals. And yet every seminar, that's what they do. Why do they want you to set achievable, reachable goals? Because if you set goals that are too high, you will fail within the first 2 weeks and you'll give up on a goal setting program. So they want you to set goals that you can really achieve, that are achievable, reachable. That's a term they use, achievable, reachable goals. And that's good if you want average to a little bit better than average. A little bit better than average maybe doubles your income, doubles your fulfillment in a relationship, doubles what you achieve. That's nice. But what if we can, instead of doubling it, what if we can increase it by 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times? Well, there's one way of goal setting that does that. You don't do it in everything, but you do it in the important areas of your life. And that's shooting for the moon. Now, interestingly, one guy who did this was John F. Kennedy. In May 5th of 1961, we put our first man in space. His name was Alan Shepard. But he was only there for 15 minutes. He went up, and that was the goal of the flight. He went up, and he came down. He didn't go around the Earth or anything else, just went up successfully, came down. The rocket didn't blow up. That was a good thing. The capsule, wasn't destroyed. The parachutes worked. All great. That was May 5th. A friend of mine in the aerospace industry, who is no longer alive, but he was a very, very dear friend, really taught me some cool things, much older than me. But he was invited to go hear the president speak on, what was it? It was May 25th, 20 days after Alan Shepard took that first flight. 20 days. And the president was going to be speaking. And so my friend went to that speech. In fact, there was a picture of him standing a little bit to the right of John F. Kennedy. And Kennedy announces, we are going to put a man on the moon in this decade, the 1960s. put a man on the moon. We had gone up into suborbital space. Try saying that 10 times. And he came back down 15 minutes later. And JFK tells the world, we're going to put a man on the moon before 1970. Well, if that didn't surprise everybody, it shocked my friend, who was a brilliant engineer and owned an aerospace company. And he said he was in shock. Guess what else? He said Wernher von Braun, the man that Kennedy had in charge of our space program, Wernher von Braun was shocked. In fact, he came back from that speech and evidently said to a number of engineers, this is impossible. What is he thinking? What is this, just the biggest lie the world's ever heard? Well, guess what? On July 20th, 1969, we had 2 American astronauts walking on the moon. 8 years after that statement, we actually did it. And you know who was in charge of the whole program? Wernher von Braun. But Kennedy was shooting for the moon, and Wernher von Braun was the first partner he recruited. Von Braun ended up recruiting over 35,000 other partners. We call them engineers. And amazingly, we got to the moon. Amazingly. No other country's ever done it. China hasn't done it yet. They haven't put a man on the moon. Russia never did it. We did it. We shot for the moon and we hit it. And you're going to learn that in order to hit the moon, when you shoot for it, you have to effectively partner. We're going to go all through that process of how to effectively partner. Do you know most partnerships are ineffective? Most partnerships merely accelerate failure. And oftentimes they make the failure more expensive. But effective partnering, it's the big life changer. I ineffectively partnered in investments and I lost millions of dollars. I effectively partnered in one business, just one business I effectively partnered, and it turned me and all the partners into multi-millionaires. Okay. Most of my partners were great at investing and they didn't lose the fortunes they made. On the other hand, you're looking at someone who didn't recruit the right partners for his investing initially. And I lost more than, just the mere thought of wasting that much money and losing that much money makes me sick. But I did, okay? Terrible failures. I ineffectively partnered. I've also had businesses where I ineffectively partnered. Ineffectively partnered in one business, and it turned out the partners embezzled millions and millions of dollars from the company. You think that company succeeded? Barely. Another business, the management was terrible. I've had lots of businesses, by the way, so there's no way you can figure out which ones are which, thankfully. But the one business that I truly effectively partnered in generated billions of dollars in sales and hundreds of millions of dollars for distribution to our small partnership group. So effective partnering changes everything. It's how you hit the moon. Okay, what does shooting for the moon really mean? Well, Babe Ruth shot for the moon every time he came to the plate. Okay? What is Babe Ruth known for? He's the greatest home run hitter of all time. People will say, yeah, but such and such hit more home runs. Hank Aaron hit more home runs in his lifetime. Such and such hit more home runs in a season than Ruth. Yeah, but nobody did it in as few trips to the plate. Babe Ruth was amazing. For the number of times he came up to bat, he hit more home runs than anybody ever. Okay, but he also had a strategy. His strategy was, I don't come up to get on base. I don't come up to take a walk. I don't come up to just get a hit and get to first or get a hit and get to second, because he wasn't a fast runner. So So he was swinging for the fence. Now, when you swing for the fence, anybody will tell you you're going to have more strikeouts. Babe Ruth was known as the strikeout king. The strikeout king. And yet he was the best home run hitter. He hit more home runs per trips to the plate than anybody in history. He hit more triples because sometimes you swing for the fence and you shoot for the moon and you miss. But guess what? You're still high. Hitting a triple is still a great accomplishment, and he hit more of those than anybody. You combine his triples and home runs, that's called your slugger percentage or something, and he had the highest ever, okay? Why? He swung. What's the right word? Anyway, he went for the fence every time he stepped up to the plate. And now you don't have to swing for the fence in every area of your life, but they're the most important ones. You really should swing for the fence. Now, when you swing for the fence, will you strike out? Yes, you're going to have failure. One of our strategies down the road, we're going to show you how to eliminate your fear of failure. You'll discover there's two types of failure, good failure and bad failure. Good failure makes you wiser. Bad failure paralyzes you and makes you not swing for the fence, okay? So we're going to learn all about that. We're going to deal with our problems with failure. I was really afraid of failure in a number of areas of my life. And in those areas, I would just come up to the plate, just want to get on first base. Just a walk's as good as a hit. What a lie. A hit's as good as a double. What a lie. Nothing's as good as a hit, and nothing's as good as a home run, okay? Those are the best. And you can achieve home runs in your relationships. You can achieve home runs in your business, in your projects, your side projects. If you have any side projects, really, you can do that. And it's not a matter of psyching yourself up, okay? There's a lot of motivational speakers that I really have disgust for because they get people, you know what they really are? They're cheerleaders. They paint a picture, and I know a lot of people believe in making what they call dream boards. So here's the beautiful car I'm going to own. Here's the beautiful home I'm going to own. Here's all the, those are wishes, and wishes are insignificant clouds that pass through the sky. We're talking reality, okay? If I'm dreaming of becoming at 72, the first 72-year-old to run in the Olympics or play in the NBA or Major League Baseball, that's ridiculous, okay? That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is achieving what others would call the unachievable, but doing it in the real world with what you've got and who you're going to recruit as your partners. So shooting for the moon. Henry Ford said this. I love this quote. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Okay? If you think you can't, you're right. You're not going to achieve if you don't think you can. If you think you can, you will achieve. But it takes a lot more than thinking. I studied Henry Ford's life, and believe me, it was not the power of positive thinking that got him where he got. Do you know, when he launched his company, the average car maker was making 50 to 100 cars a year. And do you know that, by the way, he had two failures. He actually failed with one company. They hired him to be the CEO. That company crashed and burned in 3 years. Everybody that hits home runs has strikeouts. But we're going to teach you how to live with your strikeouts so you're not afraid of them. Man, you're going to hit the home runs. That's what's exciting. But Henry Ford, he came up with something pretty clever. It was called the movable. He didn't invent the assembly line. He invented the movable assembly line. So your work came to you, you did it, it moved on to the next person, another one comes to you, you do it. It was genius. And by 1923, 1 out of every 2 automobiles in the world had Henry Ford's name on it. Okay? Impossible. When he started his company, there were over 200 automobile manufacturers that had a head start. We can't even remember the names of most of them. But he he did it. He shot for the moon and he did it. Every super achiever I have ever studied shot for the moon. Do you think Washington really thought he had a chance at beating the world's most powerful navy, at beating the world's most powerful infantry and army? No, he didn't have a prayer. When the founding fathers declared independence for America, Washington's ragtag army, I wish all of you would truly study American history. It'll change your life, because we accomplished the impossible over and over and over again. But it started with our founding fathers. It started with a general named George Washington. At Valley Forge, he started the winter with 11,000 men. The British that winter had over 20,000 men encamped in Philadelphia. They took over the homes of people and lived in nice, comfortable homes with fireplaces. Washington was losing people to death and disease. He ended that winter encampment at Valley Forge not with 11,000 troops, but with only 7,000. He didn't have money to pay them. He didn't have shoes. He barely had bullets for their guns. And yet here we are today, because Washington never gave up. He shot for the moon. He effectively partnered. You see, I've never seen anybody shoot for the moon and hit it that didn't effectively partner. It's impossible. So that becomes a very important strategy that we'll be looking at real soon. So shooting for the moon in the important areas of your life. You say, well, I kind of like the way my life is. Yeah, you like being a drifter, a pursuer, an achiever. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe don't watch the rest of this series, because this isn't for you. This is for people who want to achieve extraordinary outcomes in their personal relationships, on their job, in their career, in their projects, and in their relationship with God. So that's where I really want to shoot for the moon, in my relationship with God, because that's what's eternal. I want my life, even at 72, with what's left of my life, I want it to count for eternity. I don't want my life, when it ends, to have only counted for a brief period in time. So the eternal side is the most important. See you in our next session.